Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. This is episode 114. Excited for this episode. We have a special guest. You know, we always love having guests on, and I always love starting the podcast by just saying thank you. I feel so very blessed with this podcast, all the messages we get, and all the work that, we get to do, I get to do. Yeah, it just feels like a super spiritual time, a super special time. I messaged it in a podcast a couple of weeks ago. I chose to leave my corporate role recently, and I'm looking forward to doing this full time. But before we get into the energy of it, I'd love to introduce my special guest, the special guest that we have on this episode. If you've listened to previous episodes, you've heard me talk about Sidra Jafri. Sidra is my mentor, my guide, my friend. She's had a huge impact on my life, and she's no longer in this realm. And the reason I say it is because she's my guide. She continues to guide me from the other side. But I'm excited to have a sister on here. Her sister is an amazing healer in her own energy, in her own vibration. I've done a podcast with her before, which actually was very popular. And I'm looking forward to her being a guest on this week's podcast. So introducing Zara. Zara, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself? And I'm really glad you're here with us.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, Nimesh. My name is Zara Jafri. I'm a founder of a company called Key Light Center organization, not company. It's a great organization, which is the target and the mission is to empower people understand that all the power and all the answers that they seek outside actually resides within. And as you mentioned, Bajia, I very lovingly called her Sidra. Bajia, all the information, all the teachings that I have is 100% from her as well. And I completely related to the fact when you said that I'm saying is because we truly believe that she's guiding us from the beyond. And there are always these small little signs that I see here and there, which is really exciting. And I'm sure that you are familiar with that as well. And yeah, so here I am today, very excited to talk about the daily practices, which I have also applied and I have seen my life transformed. And yeah, so I'm excited to share that with you all.
Thank you, Zara. And just for a reference for everyone, if she says Bajia in this podcast, she's talking about Sidra. Is what she affectionately calls Sidra. And obviously, this podcast won't be this podcast without the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, and now published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, friends. So good to be back. This is something that I look forward to every week, and I know we're going to go on a journey together today, so I'm excited. My name is Stacey, and I'm an intuitive, and I dedicate my life to helping people on their healing journey. I do this through intuitive readings, Akashic record readings, spiritual, holistic mentoring and coaching. And I recently wrote a book, and it's about my journey, my healing journey. And it's called Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. It's available on Amazon and Audible. I'm looking forward to having this conversation today with the two of you.
Yay. So, hi, everybody. I'm Nims. I'm also an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, and a spiritual coach and mentor. And like I was saying, the energy and the vibration of this year, we were just talking about it before the call started, feels like putting us at the center of the universe. And it feels like so many people are going through so much. And I just love guiding people to shine their light. The mentorship program we have is changing lives. And actually, I'm going to ask Stacey to talk about it in a second. Before we go there, with this podcast, we've been thinking about ways of how can we engage with the audience much more. So one of the things that we've come up with is I'm going to go live on Instagram a couple of days after. So every Wednesday after the podcast, I'm going to go live on whatever the topic of the podcast is. So if you listen to the podcast and you have some questions, you want to interact, it's a great way for us to interact, for you to bring those questions and maybe connect with this vibration in a different sort of way. So with this one, I am going to go live with Zara on Wednesday, the 24th at 7 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Pacific, and 2 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. EST. I'll post that in the show notes, but we'd love for you to join us. And we do have a Feb event coming up with which I'm doing with Zara, which I'm super excited about. We'll talk about that near the end. But I'd also like Stacey to talk a little bit about a mentorship program and the promotion we have going on. Stacey, do you want to share more about the program?
Yeah, so we channeled our program in the very kitchen where Nimesh is recording from right now. And we opened the Akashic Records and asked what was needed. And we channeled a 12-week program that has been transformative for a lot of people who are going through an awakening, where things feel different than what they have before and you're not quite sure where you fit. And we wanted to do something because we love working with our clients. And so this month, our promo is that you can sign on for 3 months of mentorship and you will get a 4th month free. We do this because we want to provide as much value as we can. And a lot of times our clients will choose to do a month 4 with us because they love the journey so much. And so we're doing what we can to find a way to give you as much as possible. So if this is something that you're interested in, book a free discovery call at either one of our websites, and we'll take you through the program. It's a free discovery call, so it's not a big deal. We love hearing from you, and if this is something you want to explore, reach out.
Thank you, Stace. Yeah, and Stace says, I love the program. It's it really is changing lives. It really helps people to understand the programming and truly shine their light. So I'm excited. I am, if you're ready for that journey, if you're ready to truly shine your light, then come and join us. So this week's topic is all about the spiritual practices we can do in our everyday life. And it's really interesting. Like I was saying earlier, I feel like a lot of people are going through a spiritual awakening. And what does a spiritual awakening feel like? It feels like so many facets of you are changing. So many things that you do that you used to do on a regular basis, you don't feel connected to anymore. Maybe there's friends, there's people in your life that have always been there or they've been there for a while, but you don't feel like you resonate with them anymore. You feel that like the world is changing around you and you don't feel as connected. Maybe it's all facets of you just being dissolved and so much change happening in your world. And that is, I feel like a lot of people are going through that. And, the feeling, the lack of connection. We talk a lot about having a strong self-care routine in this program. Every podcast it comes up, because having the right spiritual practices gives you a strong foundation to really be present and to deal with the changes that happen around you. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. Before, I'm sure all of us have spiritual practices we can share. I'd love for Zara to start and just, Zara, we came up with this topic for us in this podcast together. So I'd love for you to, again, I guess, first of all, talk about how you feel, what's happening spiritually, and then how regular spiritual practices that you recommend and the impact they've had on your life.
Thank you, Nimesh. So I just, while you were talking about the spiritual practices, I really want to share something personal and the clients that I have been talking to as well. I have come to realize that sometimes when somebody is experiencing awakening or their world is, falling apart or there are changes that are happening, and then they start getting attracted towards the idea that there has to be something more than this, right? And I have to work on my empowerment, or I have to do something about my life because it's not the way I want to live my life. And I really like this quote that says, what you don't change, you choose. So when you see that your life is actually falling apart around you and you're not doing anything about it, it means that you're actually actively choosing this life. And so what I was saying was that once you do decide that, okay, I'm going to start either journaling every day or meditating every day, a lot of times it happens that people fall out of it. They'll start doing it, they'll do it for about a month, 2 months. I see them in about 4 or 5 months and they'll be like, oh my God, we were so consistent, and then we stop doing it, and it feels like I take 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards. I'm sure as mentors and as healers, you might have heard clients saying that as well. And with that, I always share my personal experience with it. All I'm saying is that you have to keep changing. You have to keep bringing variety into your daily routines and practices. Otherwise, it does become very mundane. It does become very repetitive. It does become, and then without even realizing, there'll be a time where you're just journaling, but just for the sake of journaling. The intention kind of just fizzles out a little bit. So that's why, the main tool that I 100% would always use was and still is ABC, which is accessing body's consciousness. So if I was feeling a certain way, or by the end of the day, whatever kind of a day I would have, I would do ABC on it. And then slowly and gradually, I came across this amazing tool, and I'm so, so excited to share this. It's called a power model. And all I'm asking everybody, whoever is listening, to give it a try for about 40 days. So we're just asking you to do the power model for 40 days and then see where it takes you. Yeah, so we will be sharing the power model. Are you both ready? Should I just jump into it?
I'd love for you to share more about what ABC is.
Okay.
Because I know we live ABC in our DNA with work.
Yeah. So ABC.
What ABC and what the power model is. I'd love for you to
Okay,
share.
perfect. So ABC is a tool that was created by Sidra Jafri, and it stands for Accessing Body's Consciousness. It's based on the principle that how everything is energy, and so are your emotions. And if you really decode emotions, it's just energy in motion. That's all your emotions are. So by using this tool, ABC, all you do is that you access that part of your body that's holding that emotion, that feeling, and you release it and you declare that lesson complete. That's what the easiest way to define ABC is. But then again, if anybody's interested to, if they want to find out more, I'm sure Nimesh is more than welcome to guide you through it. And we also have her book, Sidra's book, called The Awakening, 9 Principles, page number 37. We never forget. You go on that page and you just but it's but just to simplify it, that's what it is. It just allows you to go inside of you and find that part that's holding that information, helps you release it so you can feel lighter and better.
I love it. And just kind of give my perspective on, I guess, is because you said earlier, and the way I talk about it is everything external is a result of something in our internal. So it's that, our body, our internal energy is the biggest barometer we can have on truly what's happening in our world. And what ABC does is it allows you to truly connect to what's blocking you inside, and it gives you a way of bringing it out so you can release it. Because how often do we look for the answers outside ourselves? And really, I'm a big component that everything we need is inside us. All the love, all the joy, all the answers is inside us if we can truly connect to it. When you work with somebody externally, getting a reading or a mentor, what you're doing is you're giving that person to access to your vibration, your energy, and they guide you to your answers inside. And I think ABC is just such a simple tool that allows you to connect to what's blocked inside, and for you to heal it yourself by having a conversation and connection with it. Yeah. So that's my take on it. And sorry, Zara, back to you to talk about the other modality you mentioned.
And Nimesh, I think that the idea that your outside world is an inward condition, I think this is such a core and such a phenomenal lesson. And I honestly pray when I see clients, I say, okay, guys, you have to understand that it's never the guy who cut you off in a parking lot. It's never your mother-in-law or your husband or your partner or your kids. It's however you're feeling inside. That's how you are. That's what you're reflecting outside. A difficult thing, but it's mind-blowing. I love that concept and idea.
And I remember Sidra always used to get excited when she was triggered. So, oh my God, it's an opportunity to heal. And it's just like, I just look at her and, kind of like, really? So, but yeah, it's beautiful. I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the power model. It's really easy and it's really simple. So all you have to do is you have to do these 5 things. So anybody who is trying to get into a practice, or anybody who wants to change what they're doing, or try something else, power model is the way to go. So there are 5 tasks that you have to do every day. All right. And luckily, we all remember the word power. We all want it. So it's easy to remember. Where P stands for positivity, which loosely translates to gratitude. All right. So every day, what you're going to do is that you're going to take some time out of your day. It could be in the morning, night, evening, any time that you can remember. And you're going to start saying gratitude for things that you can physically see. All right. So, for example, if I'm sitting here, I'm going to say, oh, I am grateful for the laptop, for the mic, for the roof, for the light, for my voice, for my eyes. And you just take about 30 seconds, a minute, and start naming anything that's apparent right there, and then you're grateful for. So that's your P for the day. Then comes your O, which stands for offer. So every single day, what you have to do is you have to offer something to the world. It can be charity. It can be talking to a friend who you know is having a difficult time. You take your phone out, you shoot them a text saying that, hey, just checking up on you. Or if you volunteer, that's a great idea. If with you too, I'm sure the offer goes every day. It's given. And you heal something, you pay for somebody's coffee in the lineup. I always say that that's the easiest thing to do. When you're buying yourself a coffee, just pay for the person behind you and pray that they only got a coffee and not something big, but still. So that's your offer. So giving back to someone. Then comes W, which is writing, journaling. So every day for 40 days, you're going to pick up your journal and you're going to start writing whatever you're feeling. With journaling, I have experienced that somebody haven't journaled before and they're new to it and they don't know what to write. Usually I'll ask them to give it time, sit with your journal, create a nice ambience, light some candles, and then just start writing. But if you think that you don't have the time for it, then the least we can do is that pick up a divine magic statement or an affirmation and write it 7 times. If you're doing that, it will still be your writing for the day. The 4th one is E, which is exercise. So when we say exercise, we're not asking people to go to the gym or work out. What we are trying to tell them is that every single day for 40 days, they have to have some movement into their lives, right? So which means that if you like to dance, put a song on every day and dance it out. If you like yoga, you do yoga. If you like stretches, you do stretches. But we are moving our body with the intention to distribute the energy, right? So if somebody is experiencing a very heavy chest lately, by incorporating this into their day-to-day lives, they will realize and understand that they actually just start feeling lighter and lighter, right? Because you're distributing that energy around your body. The 5th one, which is R, stands for recharge. This is a really interesting one because I had clients who are in their 60s and I asked them 5 things that make you happy and they cannot be dependent on anybody else. I kid you not, the maximum sometimes I get is 1. Because the others, things that make people happy is, spending time with kids, cooking for my kids, or doing this for the other person, hanging out with my friends. But if you actually take a moment and if you can just name 5 things that are not dependent on anybody else, and you can do it all by yourself, right? That will come under your recharge. So before you start this program, take some time out, make a recharge list. And from that recharge list, you have to do 1 activity every day. So for me, I like reading books. I like going out for walks. So, or I like getting ready. I like listening to podcasts, right? So I'll make sure that when I'm doing my power model actively, I pick one thing out of this list and do that as well, right? So what the idea here is that we all have to start seeing our mind in two forms. You know, I know that people who have been in spirituality and been actively working on the awakening, the idea of the awakening, often hear the word subconscious mind and conscious mind, right? So we say start seeing your mind as a rider and an elephant. So your conscious mind is the rider and your unconscious mind is the elephant. Elephant has been trained since your birth. You have been absorbing, observing whatever was going around you like a sponge. You were just absorbing that programming, that software, right? And and as we grow up, you know, either we are in our 20s, in our 30s, we try to change the way we either respond to situations or the way we live our lives. So our rider is very much aware of it, and it goes, yeah, you know, something needs to change, and I have to start fixing myself or working on myself, and we do that. But the problem happens that the information doesn't get passed on to that wild animal that has already been trained since birth, right? So by doing the power model for 40 days, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to train that animal. So it's like similarly like training a dog, you know. So when you're training a dog, you have to be consistent. You have to keep doing it again and again and again. It's exactly how it works. So that's why I'm saying that if you really, really want to try this power model out, please do give it at least 40 days, right? And after, once you're done with the 40 days, if you want, you can continue with it. I like to change things up. So I usually either start doing something else. I'll start doing meditating and journaling, or I'll you know, just mix it up and then come back to the model. How is that?
No, it's good. I mean, and I guess we will include details of the power model in the show notes. You know, it's interesting when you say 40 days. I'm sure there's some people listening who kind of think, I'm not sure I can commit to 40 days. I have such a busy life. They just say it depends who you talk to. Some people say 40 days, some people say 21 days.
Yeah.
But you know, consistent action creates traction. So it's that
100%.
if you want to change, then it's important that you do something consistently. And you know, the part, it may sound like a lot, but if you look at all the elements, it doesn't need to take you a long time. So, you know, just it's something, you know, consider, right? If you're ready for a lot of change in your life, then, you know, Einstein would say definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing, expected to set a different set of results, right? So if you want to change, then you have to change.
Yes,
So
100. And
yeah,
also
try it. What have you got to lose, right?
yeah, with the 40-day idea, the reason that I suggest 40 days is that I have come to, again, it is Sidra's information, and that how, even though we are just able to see one body, which is our physical body, we actually have three other bodies. So your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body, which your physical body is housing, you know, that's holding on the other three bodies as well. So when we do 40 days, we're actually 10 days we're working on our spiritual body, 10 days we're working on our mental body, 10 days we are working on our emotional body. So we divide it. And again, because we are training our unconscious mind. But 21 days is a very famous one. You know, if you think 40 days are a lot, then try with 21 days and then see how that feels.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about what I recommended. Normally, I recommend 21 days, so it's
Yeah.
it is, you know, kind of what you believe. But
Yes.
I'd love to hear from Stace. Stace, in terms of if you could share why you feel, you know, kind of having a self-care model, like a self-care, self-practice routine, why that's important, and also what you'd recommend to people to incorporate into their daily life that would truly impact them on a regular basis. Love to hear from you.
So I would say I agree with Zara in the kind of needing variety and feeling stagnant if you do the exact same thing. I think it'd be very hard to say things are stagnant in what we do because we work with so many different people and such. But when it comes to our personal routine, I think much like I get burned out from getting on my treadmill if I do my treadmill too much and I don't do other workouts. I tend to get like then resistant and I get in a rut. And I feel that that can happen with any of our four bodies. So the way that I kind of like mix it up or change things up is I just change the recipe slightly each day. So, for example, I went through a period of time where I was resistant to journaling, right? And I'm just being transparent because we're all on the journey, right? We're not all going to have it exactly in alignment all the time. We're going to have times where we might struggle a little bit more. And I just went through this season where I was resistant to journaling.
Yeah.
And I recognized that it was missing from my routine, but I had to kind of like force myself to sit down and start with it again. And then once I let go and I just kind of surrendered, I realized there was so much there for me, like that I needed to know. There were so many messages there for me that I needed to know. And so I just feel like we all have to kind of mix it up slightly so that we stay hungry.
Mm.
We stay hungry for growth. We stay hungry for expansion. Um, it's like learning how to dance, right? And you have to get like just the right rhythm. And it's a dance between like doing what we know we need to do, trusting that our higher power will place us where we're meant to be, right? And applying the practices that we need to feel like we can show up as the best version of ourselves, right? It's a
Yeah.
dance.
Yeah.
You can
And
do
I
that
love
for
that.
us, Stace.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. This is so true that, especially when we go and we talk about, we're consistently talking about improving. But the truth is that we have those days when we don't feel like doing
Yeah.
certain things, but it also what I have really, really with this whole idea about, because it sits very heavy on me personally. Initially, it used to, now I'm getting better at it. So if I'm falling out of something, and I have been that, so one of the challenges that I personally faced was me being impatient. I would I would be like, oh my God, or self-critical. Like I'll be like, oh my God, why am I not doing it? It's right there, right? But what I plan and what I want to really do is that work on that space where there's a neutral space inside of me. So even when I'm falling, I'm not falling far down. And I always come back to, and of course, as humans, there are going to be days where we are, it's up and down and up. It's like an ECG result. It's going to be up and it's going to be down. And your idea is to experience the highs and the lows. But there's always this middle ground that you come to. And with the practices and changing of the practices, I realized that this window is getting a little bit bigger. So I can stay in it. I can always, so I'll experience it for 5 minutes, then I can come back to this very easily as, consistently doing different things. But yeah, we're not perfect. A work in
Well,
progress.
we always, it's like we're humans having we're souls having a human experience, right?
Yeah.
So, but Stacey, I want to go back to you in terms of, you talked about journaling. Is any of the other spiritual practice you'd recommend that you'd recommend to our listeners that you've used that truly have impacted you?
Getting comfortable being with yourself, being with your own energy and not relying on other people's energy, but rather being in a space of being present.
Mm.
And for me, I just spent a lot of time kind of avoiding myself. And that's really where our answers lie, right? So finding a way to make time for yourself to turn within. And, for some people, they might say that that's their meditation time. Great. For some people, that might be their walking time. Great. But finding that time where you allow yourself the space to both like ask for what you want from the universe and to listen for the response. I would say that practice alone has been life changing for me. I'm somebody who grew up being very anxious, and I still have days where my anxiety gets the best of me. And I know, like, I know that it's time for me to take time with myself. And sometimes that looks like intensive prayer, right? Sometimes that looks like me walking on the treadmill, kind of allowing my thoughts to wander. Sometimes it's a drive in the car and a song will trigger me to go to that space. But finding that space has been really important for me. I, in that space, have become aware of what I need to work on, meaning what needs my attention as far as healing myself, right? What is it that I need? And in those moments, that's when I let my soul speak. I would say the rest of the time, I'm focused on serving and helping other people and doing what I can. But I have to take that time with myself. I have to.
I love
And
it. I love it.
I've recognized it more now than ever. Right.
No, it's all very true, right? It's that is it natural to put ourselves first? Maybe it goes against the programming we've had, and maybe it's that, religious programming, parental, whatever you want to call it. But as I was saying earlier, I think this year, I really feel this year is about putting ourselves in the middle of our world. And, I always remind people how important that is, because our light becomes so much brighter when we put ourselves first. It means that we can help so many more people. And also, what example are we setting for others? We're not here to force people to do what we do, but we can set an example and they choose to follow or not. And you both talked about variety, and the importance of variety in the kind of the spiritual practice. And I agree, right? It's like if you keep doing the same thing, then you're going to get bored. And it's checking in with yourself, but it's also, we've given you and we'll continue to give you some practices that you've got to pick the things that resonate with you. But then for me, the reason I feel that Zara says 40 days is you've also got to give it a chance to make a difference. So, the variety comes from finding the recipe that works for you. And Stacey, I think about your recipe analogy, which I'll ask you to talk about in a second. But it's also, really doing something consistent to really affect the change, and, really being honest with yourself about how much change it's impacting. Because I'm sure all of us would agree that we've done things in the past that was really working, and for some reason we've stopped doing it. And why do we stop doing it? Is because I guess life gets in the way. But picking those things that resonate is really important. And I always recommend, and I have for maybe 20 plus years, and I still have people that do it today. And I always recommend 3 things whenever I start working with somebody to create that consistent behavior. I always recommend three things. And number 1 is 10-minute silence. And it's like when I always recommend this, there's some people that say, you know what, I can't meditate. I've tried it and it doesn't work. And again, the reason, it's like a muscle. You can't try and meditate once and then decide I can't meditate. So again, I always recommend do it consistently for 21 days. And the reason I recommend 10-minute silence is because it's about quieting the mind so you can truly listen to your heart and soul. We talked about the body being a signal, and it's like, but our mind and our ego is so strong for so many of us. So when we give ourselves 10 minutes to be silent, to be present, and we do it consistently for 21 days, then all of a sudden our voice does become quieter. But then our internal voice from our heart and our soul becomes louder. And, again, if somebody says, I can't sit for 10 minutes silence, then if a thought comes through, let it come and let it go. Because a lot of time what we do is, oh my God, I can't believe I can't sit here for 10 minutes silence. You berate yourself. No, do it with kindness. If a thought comes in, let it come, let it go, let it come, let it go. And you do it for 21 days. I found with so many people, I've tried it with thousands of people, you do find a little peace. And like I said, I've got people that I 20 plus years they've been doing this because it's something I recommended and they find is working. So that's the one thing that people consistently do. The second thing is mirror work. And the reason I recommend mirror work is because we spend so much time looking after our physical body. And, Zara talked about the 4 bodies, but how much time do we spend ourselves loving ourselves from the inside? And what mirror work allows you to do is to fall in love with you from the inside. And what I say about mirror work is you just look in the mirror. You can't look with both eyes, look with one eye and just connect to you from the inside. Feel the love inside you, feel that connection, and then say whatever comes to your mind. I always recommend saying, I love you, I appreciate, and I thank you. I thank you, I appreciate you, I love you. Or even just saying, I love you. You do that 21 days, you're going to start to feel differently inside. And look, sometimes when you look in the mirror and you look in your eyes, you may see something you don't like. You may see some darkness. But ultimately, we all have light and darkness in us. And, you have to accept all of you. But that's why I recommend the third thing. The third thing, and both Stacey and Zara talked about journaling. So the third thing I've always recommended is journaling, because stuff is going to come up for you at different times, and journaling is really a spiritual activity of releasing the stuff inside you. It has to go somewhere. If you don't release the stuff inside you, it could become a volcano and erupt in anger or other things. So when you journal, you give yourself, it's a spiritual activity of releasing what's inside you. I remember I used to argue with Sidra all the time because I love just typing things on the computer. I'm like, I'm just going to journal on the computer. And she'd be like, no, you need a pencil. You need to write it down because it's a spiritual activity. You know what? Do what's right for you. But yeah, these are the 3 things I recommend. And Stacey, before we go back to Zara, I remember I mentioned the recipe analogy. So I'd love for you to just expand on, kind of the different elements we recommend, but picking the right thing for you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people who come into our orbit, they've been eating the same soup recipe their whole life. Like their parents taught them the soup recipe and they've just been, and what I mean is you only are doing what was imparted to you from the wisdom of what came before you, right? And what we do is we walk you up to a buffet with all different ingredients. And we walk you through the process of figuring out what ingredients work for you, because not everybody's recipe is going to be the same. For some of us, it might be a really intense journaling session 3 times a week. For others of us, we might need to write multiple times a day to expand in that connection and to feel that sensation, right? That you're aligned. And sometimes it can be really hard to figure out what your recipe is because you've only been fed one recipe, so you don't even know what you like. But what if you could take the time to figure out what works for you specifically, not what somebody else tells you is going to work, but you just started exposing yourself to different things, different ways of connecting with yourself, with the world around you, different ways of true, unfiltered connection.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And it's kind of so true in terms of, my recipe is right for me because I'm on this journey that I do the things that resonate. And, on this podcast, we'll always recommend different things, but you've got to pick the things that resonate with you at a heart level. So, if it's the 3 daily things I talked about, Stacey has a beautiful journaling technique that, if you register on a website, you get a PDF of journey with intention, and Zara talked about the power model. It's like, pick the things that you resonate with, because how often have we watched something on TV or gone on a course and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to do that. I commit to do that for whatever period of time. And you lose the momentum, and it's because it doesn't always resonate with you at a heart level. You want to change. You want to just because you've seen the changes in the person and you're like, oh my God, I'd want to do that. But you've got to find the things that resonate with you. And when you find the things that resonate with you, actually you'll stick with it. Of course, there's going to be times when you maybe you stop doing it, but all those times I always recommend is like, go back to, if you're struggling, go back to a time when you were thriving, whatever that looks like. Yes, circumstances was different, but what were you doing on a regular basis that was allowing you to be the best version of yourself? Because I really believe the universe gives us clues, and it also prepares us for massive change by helping us to do the right things. And sometimes we forget because life gets busy. But if we can just sit with ourselves and just ask, which of these guys, the three amazing healers on this call, what are they recommending? Out of the things they're recommending, what is it that resonates to me? Oh my God, ABC sounds really interesting. You know what? Let me find out more about ABC. And whatever it is, or what, I really want to do the mirror work or journaling or whatever that may be. But commit to do it for a consistent period, whether it's 21 days, 40 days, because I really do believe consistent action creates traction, right? And it's the journey with the connection, because you got to build momentum. You can't, Stacey talks about all the time. It's like with the work that we do as personal trainers for the soul. It's like you can't go to the gym one time and all of a sudden think, okay, I'm fit. It's like doing a meditation one off and saying, okay, you know what, I'm fully healed. And it is a journey to truly. And Zara, I'd love to hear more about your journey in terms of how the daily practices that you do helped you to become the healer you are, and kind of what could you share with our audience?
So before I tell you guys that how the practices helped me, I have to tell you that what I was trying to heal or what I was trying to change. So they and while you guys were talking about, I really want to just add one point, that with journaling, again, it's a feedback from a client. I have not personally experienced it, but when there was this client and I was having this conversation about, you should journal more. And she kept, dilly-dallying it. Oh, no, okay, I will start from new moon. I will start from, I was like, just, try it, because she had a lot going on. And then after 2-3 sessions, one day she was like, Zara, I tried journaling, but I don't think I'm going to like what I hear or what I read about myself. I wouldn't like the thoughts that I'm having. So I think that if you're anyone who's resisting journaling just because you're afraid of the shadow self or what might come out, please don't give up. You have to keep, again, self-work is all about accepting yourself as a whole. I believe that we all are a combination of yin and yang. We are all work in progress. And I know that the world is very full of glitter and roses and sunshine on social medias and Instagram and all that stuff. But again, nobody is perfect. And so for me, I could relate to Stacey when she said that she has been an anxious person. Dude, if there was a degree of being, the most, I have a PhD in it. So I was extremely anxious, and I was impatient, and I was a people pleaser. That's something that was really big for me, and by doing the practices, so by putting myself first, by changing the definition of selfish, that selfish doesn't mean that I'm more important than you. It means that I'm as important as you. I used to remind this to myself every time I would make a decision that will put me first. I would always remind this to myself, that no, I'm as important as the person that I'm dealing with. So this was a very constant reminder. In terms of practices, Nimesh, what I found really easy and what has worked for me was having intention. So for example, when I was trying to work on my anxiety, anything that would resonate with me on that day, I will pick it up and do it. So if I'm more inclined towards meditating, I'll do the meditation. If I'm inclined towards journaling, I'll do the journaling. But the intention will be, okay, so I'm addressing that anxious side of me. So journaling, meditation, the power model, I love it. I think the whole recharge part changed my life. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know anything that makes me happy, honestly. Yeah, spending time with the kids and cooking and cleaning but nothing true that kind of really goes into the core. Um, so yeah, so the power model, journaling, meditation, ABC 100%. And mirror work, Nimish, I've tried doing mirror work. I still have to find my way. I still have to kind of practice more with that. But mirror work, yeah, this is while you were talking, I was thinking about that this is something that I should give it a try this time.
Everything comes up for a reason, right?
So again, if somebody else wanted to know this as well, so you're welcome. But when you mentioned mirror work, so you sit in front of the mirror and you close one eye, is that what you were saying?
I mean, so you don't have to close one eye, but if you try and look at both eyes in the mirror and to both your eyes in the mirror, it's kind of impossible to do. What you do is you look into one eye. You can keep both eyes open.
So you keep your
But
focus on one.
yeah, but you focus on one because you can't look at both. I've tried. But you focus on one, but actually you feel what you feel. So it's just with any of these exercises, if you just go through the motion, you're just going through the motion, right? But you have to put feeling into it. So it's like when you're looking into the mirror, feel yourself inside, feel what you're really feeling, feel your connection, and be open to feeling that connection at a deep level. So basically, they say your eyes are windows to the soul, right? So you're connecting to your soul through your eyes. And just feel that connection of who you are. And then from there, you can, whatever words come in, over time, people started singing to themselves, they're kind of having affirmations they use. And, as a side note, you call it daily DMS, divine magic statements, is what Sidra used to call affirmation statements, right? So whatever works for you, but it's that connecting with your soul through your eyes is really powerful because you're building a connection with you on the inside.
Okay.
And it does bring stuff up, by the way, just it should come with health warning, because sometimes, like I was saying earlier, we have darkness in us, but we all have light and dark. There is no light without dark. So we have stuff in us that we need to deal with, right? So
and as much we celebrate our light, we have to celebrate our darknesses as well.
yeah, well, I call it embrace our darkness, right? It's that when you push your darkness away, basically you're giving it power. When you accept that it's part of who you are, you embrace it, you take its power away. You start to learn from it, and you start to, because we are parts of everything, right? There's good and bad. Just like, it's like social media sometimes just points to good parts, right? It doesn't necessarily point, the darker days, but we all experience it. We're a human, so we're having a human experience. So, but Stacey, I'd love for you. Go on.
Sorry, I was just sorry. See, just one quick thing, and then this is, and again, as a reminder, something very incredible happens when you start becoming aware and embrace your darker side. A lot of times, especially when it comes to relationships, when somebody passes a comment about us, right? We take it really personally and you only take it personally if you are not aware of your shadow selves and if you are not aware of your dark sides.
Actually, you only take it personally when it triggers you, because there's some people can say stuff to you and it doesn't bother you. Yeah, whatever. But when it does trigger you, then go on. What does that mean?
You're rejecting that part of you, most likely. That's why. And you're not aware of it. So yeah. Okay, Stacey, over to you now.
I was gonna say, so actually, I just thought of something that came through. It's just the amount of time that Sidra comes up in our clients, and they can feel it. And even people from the podcast, I get messages that they can feel Sidra's energy. And just as a reminder, I call this podcast Spiritual Journey. It has the same initials as Sidra. So I honored Sidra's memory and her journey. And this podcast I'm so proud of it, but I really feel that Sidra's influenced it. So I just wanted to mention that as it came through as a message. Stace, so as part of our mentorship in the clients we work with, I mean, we advocate a lot of spiritual practices, and I'd love for you to talk about how much the change has impacted some of our clients just by applying what we do on a regular basis.
It's been so powerful, specifically in like the last couple weeks, to have so many clients having breakthroughs And for me, there is nothing better than seeing a client have a breakthrough, make a connection, understand something about themselves that they didn't understand before. There have been moments like all peppered through doing this work. But I would say recently there's just maybe there's more of them having breakthroughs. Like there's more client volume. I don't know, but it's like the excitement is so palpable. Um, People who like listen to us on the podcast, maybe this is one of you, maybe you're listening right now and you've been listening for a while and you're like, what they do sounds really interesting. Like it is, because we take you to a space where you're not just looking at one area of your life, but you're looking at all of it. And the breakthroughs for people can be so significant. It can be a breakthrough in understanding your programming. It can be a breakthrough in understanding what you're here on this earth to do. I mean, the breakthroughs vary by person, but the excitement that each one of them expresses is like similar. Like they just get so excited that they're seeing this significant change. And I just think of like we have one client right now who's really struggling in like his life circumstances and like what he's going to do as far as relationships go, etc. And he's getting so much clearer on what he wants and what he doesn't want and what he's like willing to, like it's non-negotiable, right? And so how he's showing up for himself is really having an impact. And so just seeing somebody in life circumstances right now where they're managing it because of what they're getting from our program, for me is just like I don't see how it gets any better.
I love it. I love it. And it is beautiful seeing those light bulb moments when people really understand, oh my God, this is my gift, or this is why I do this, or this is, understanding their programming. It's just, and it's just, we have so many clients that are going through so much change. But for example, we asked them to track their four bodies. So the four bodies that Zara talking about, we incorporate into our program: the physical, the mental, emotional, and spiritual. And we asked them to track their bodies 0 to 10, 0 being nothing at all. That's something that Sidra used to ask us to do, right? And it's just, there are people that are really high but are still going through a lot of change. And the reason they are is because they're connecting with their gifts, even though their human world is still going through change, but they can really feel how what they're here to do and how powerful they are, and that there's a knowingness that all the changes happening is going to go through and it's going to be what it's meant to be. And it's just, I love it. It's changing lives. And I always highly recommend it. And Zara, as we come into near the end of the episode, I'd love for you to talk about, kind of more of what you do and how people can interact, and to hear more about this event that we have coming up.
Oh, yes, the Soul Spa, which we are really, really excited about. So me and Nimesh and our beautiful friend Fozia, all the way from UK as well, we are hosting a 3-day wellness retreat in Vancouver. I'm so excited for it. We will be spending a lot of time together. We'll be talking about a lot of practices, how to be in more acceptance of where we are and how we get to be here, and then how we can actually create a future that we all desire. So we have different workshops throughout the day. During your stay, actually, we are coming down to 9 workshops, Nimesh, by the way, for 3 days, and we'll have a lot of activities. It's snowing here, and we have organized a little bonfire conscious conversation as well, which I'm really excited about. It's going to be a good experience. My intention, honestly, to have this and to host this was for anybody who's interested to just step out of their day-to-day lives into this space where they can truly just commit to themselves. They can just work on themselves, be fully present, And the icing on the top is that we don't have self-service there. So which is, I'm really looking forward to it. So no outside communication, which is exciting. And yeah, and it's happening on 23rd, 24th, and 25th of Feb here in Vancouver. We have rented out these beautiful cabins by water, which I'm excited about. And yeah, and what I do is that I provide one-to-one sessions. It's about a 50 minutes long session. I have a website, keylightcenter.com. If you go to the website, you'll also find information on our upcoming event, Soul Spa. And yeah, and then you are more than welcome to connect with me from the website.
Thank you, Zara. And I'll include Zara's details in the show notes. And I'm honored to do this event with you. I mean, I was blessed to do so many soul spas with Sidra. She did soul spas in Mexico, Hawaii,
Nimesh
in the
attended
UK.
8 to 9 spas, by the
Yeah,
way.
I mean, just and it changed my life. So, I mean, and she did some training while I mean, she was obviously running the events, but there were times when she kind of left me to run stuff, and there was times. So I feel like in many ways she was training me for me. So I'm excited. I'm sure that this is the first event of many, and trying to convince Stacey to come to this one. I'm not sure she's going to be at this one, but we will do events in the US and the UK together as well. So I just want to connect with people in person. I'm excited. So if you're in the Vancouver area or you can make it at those dates, then please do join us. I'd love for you to join. I'd love to meet people to guide you. I feel very blessed and feel very guided to do the work I do. So please do join us. It's going to be a life-changing event, so I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, so Stace, as we're closing out this episode, and Zara, I'm going to come to you too. Any advice for our listeners on this topic, and also from both of you, any general prompts? So when you talk about general prompts, it's that as we go deeper in terms of some of these spiritual practices, maybe what can our listeners do to kind of really understand what's going to work for them? And Stacey, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I say a great place to start is to ask yourself what makes you feel connected and just write about it. Do you feel connected when you're out in nature? Do you feel connected when you're in bed right before you go to sleep? And if you've never felt connected, what are you willing to do to try to establish connection? Meaning, are you willing to meditate? Are you willing to start journaling? Are you willing to start doing mirror work? What are you doing? What are you willing to do to meet the universe halfway in you experiencing more of a connection? That's where I would start. Zara, what about you?
So I was about to say what you said, but that's fine.
I went to Stacey first to give you some time to think about it.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
Stacey's used to
I
be
love it
putting
when
on the
she
spot.
speaks.
So.
So I'm all happy. Just to add on to what you said, yes. Also, I think intention. Why are you connecting? I think that kind of really, really answers a lot of. So if you want to start by doing that as well, so it just kind of gives you a clear picture of why you're doing what you're doing. A lot of times when people are, again, just from personal observations, when we do start working on ourselves, when we start building a connection, there's usually something in our material plane that stops working and that pushes us to work on ourselves, right? But it has to be something more than that. So I think sit with it. Ask yourself that why am I seeking this, what I'm seeking? I think that kind of really just, even if you write that and if you start journaling, a lot of information is going to come through. I think that kind of just triggers something on the other side and they go, wait, keep doing what you're doing. So try that. And yeah, and Stacey's thing for sure. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And our intention drives so much, because sometimes we start things and you see something and you want a quick fix. It's like, oh, but what these daily practices do, and pick the ones that resonate with you,
Yeah.
give you a foundation. So if you're going through something, it gives you that foundation to then really build on additional things on. And it's like, without that foundation, it's like you're walking on quicksand. It's like your base chakra. So it really gives you that strength. So I recommend picking the practices that really make sense to you.
Yep.
And, as we close out this episode, and just I could talk to you two of my favorite people on the planet for all day. So I've loved this connection. I've loved talking to you. As I was saying earlier, I'm going to go live on Instagram, talk about this. So if you want to connect with me and Zara and kind of continue to engage with us on this topic, and maybe you want to give us some feedback via Instagram live, then please do join us. It's going to be on the 24th at 7 p.m. UK, 11 a.m. Pacific. It's also in Vancouver, where Zara is, and 2 p.m. EST. As a reminder, we have a promo on the mentorship program, which is Change Your Life. So you get 4 months for the price of 3. And you know what? Follow us on social media. We all post stuff, and actually, there's a secret. I just thought about this on Zara's website, Key Light Center. If you want to feel the connection, the energy of Sidra, she shares a lot of Sidra's meditations on that website. I go to it. I use some of those meditations all the time. So, go to that website and maybe just try out a couple of Sidra's meditations. You may be surprised. And I would always, kind of, there's a few there, just the ones that resonate with you, the one that, just something about the title, just try it. I would love for you guys to feel her vibration, and let us know how you felt, what came through it. And yeah, I'd love for you to reach out to us on social media. Let us know if there's topics or even guests that you want us to have on this podcast. Let me know. I love this podcast. Feel so much love from it. I feel so much love from you guys. And I'm going to hand over to both of you to close us out. So Zara, I'm going to come to you first. Any final message you have for our listeners, and then I'll go to Stacey after that.
Just one. Let's truly, while you're working on yourself, don't forget to step into the frequency of joy. In 100 years, none of this will matter, but how we work on ourselves and how we work on our souls, that's important, but it has to come with the element of joy. Try to have fun with it. Choose peace and content over everything, right? And joy will follow through. And that's my closing remark. That's about it.
I love it. I love it. So much love in those words. And going over to the beautiful Stacey Brown. Stace, how would you like to close us out?
Thank you, everyone, for continuing to listen to our episodes every week. We love hearing from all of you, and we appreciate when you rate and review our podcast. And we love it when you share. So spread the word that we're here, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you, everybody, sending so much love and light. And please do come and join me on Instagram Live. I don't want to be sitting on my own. I'll include all of this in the show notes. And yeah, please continue to send us those messages. Sending everybody love and light, and bye for now.